Have you ever wondered what it's like to visit a ghost town? A city that now is merely a shadow of its former self. Such is Kolmanskop, a once rich and flourishing diamond mining town in the desert of Namibia. So, what happened to its people? How did this once luxurious town become engulfed by sand? And what remains today? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So, stay tuned. Kolmanskop is an abandoned diamond mining town, partially submerged in the desert sand of southern Namibia. It's nearly 10 kilometers east of Luderitz on B4 highway. In 1908, railroad worker Zacharias Luala found the town's first diamond. He had previously worked at South Africa's Kimberley diamond mine and was scooping up sand off the line when he noticed a raw diamond on his shovel. Auguste Stock, his foreman, had commanded his co-workers to keep an eye out, report any shiny stones that they may come across, since he had heard Adolf Luderitz's gut feeling that there might be diamonds around here. Luala obediently did so, and that was the end of the story for him. He never received a reward or anything else for his discovery. Instead, Stock easily secured a 75-acre claim, some sources say about 75 square kilometers, around Kolmanskop and began looking for diamonds sequentially. He and his business partner initially kept the discovery quiet, but word spread quickly, and a veritable diamond rush ensued, with more and more prospectors floating in Luderitz to try their luck. That's when things took a turn. Kolmanskop grew into a thriving mining town after the word spread that diamonds were in the area. The town was designed and built with German architecture in mind by wealthy citizens. The structures were large, extravagant, and lavishly decorated with color and style in mind. The German colonial government's reaction was to tame the rush and to attempt to bring order to the erupting industry. The entire stretch of the southern coast between Luderitz and the South African border was declared a Schwergebiet, or forbidden zone. Nobody was allowed to enter without a permit, and anyone choosing to leave could be searched to ensure that they weren't trying to smuggle out diamonds out of the zone. This regime is still in effect as of this day. Originally, diamonds could be picked up by hand from the desert sand. Legend has it that one starry night, Stock saw heaps of diamonds shimmering in the light of the moon and exclaimed, "It's a fairy tale" in German, as he snatched up bagloads of diamonds. As a result, the area is still known as Markchental, translated to Fairy Tale Valley. Later, the desert sand was mechanically siphoned to search for more diamonds. By 1912, Kolmanskop diamond operation produced 10% of the world's market for these precious gems. Stock and others became extremely rich. Majestic stone mansions in the German architectural style were crafted for the elite, such as the mine director, but still the rest of the population benefited the cutting edge of amenities that were previously unheard of in Africa. Such included an ice factory, or for residents, ice-cooled fridges, or ice boxes, a butcher shop, a general store, a big community center with a concert hall and a bowling alley, and multiple other sports facilities, a school for up to 50 students, an electrical substation supplying electricity to homes, and a well-equipped hospital with all sorts of modern instrumentation, including the very first X-ray machine in southern Africa. Kolmanskop and the neighboring Luderitz are said to have become the wealthiest places in the entire continent of Africa. But this town's prosperity was short-lived. It was time for it all to fall. Residents of the town continued to thrive for many years, but their fortunes began to deteriorate World War I. The mines were sucked dry, and their resources drained. Families were forced to relocate and seek employment elsewhere. And the discovery in 1928 of one of the richest diamond reserves ever discovered near the Orange River at the southernmost tip of Spierengebet sparked another diamond rush, with many Kaleidoscope residents abandoning their homes to join the new diamond rush. Others, on the other hand, persisted. Even so, the decline continued throughout 1930s and 1940s, and somewhere within the 1950s, the last inhabitants gave up and left. Kolmanskop has been a ghost town ever since. Based on existing records, the town was officially abandoned in 1954. Ever since the abandonment, the desert elements have gradually begun to reclaim its land. Buildings started to decay and contained very amounts of sand, some as high as the ceiling. Long and forgotten, Kolmanskop was partially rediscovered in 1980s and happened to coincide with the centenary of the founding of surrounding Luderitz, which was experiencing economic boom. Some of Kolmanskop's buildings were cleaned up of sand and were restored. But even so, it was not until the early 2000s that Kolmanskop started to thrive again. But this time, it was a legitimate tourist attraction, with additional restoration work, historic exhibitions, guided tours, and an on-site cafeteria or restaurant, and a souvenir shop. Photographers and tourists passing through on their way to Luderitz visit the area. It's possible to have such a good time in Kolmanskop that we consider it a must-see when visiting Namibia. To be honest, you're insane if you decide to skip it. So now if you're planning a trip out there, let us guide you a little bit more. First up, when is the best time to go? Well, the vast bulk of the town is built on the east side of a hill, which creates a beautiful shadows and light at sunrise. Without a doubt, sunset offers equally stunning lighting inside other tall buildings. For more of a dramatic visit and photographs, we suggest visiting a sunset or sunrise. We strongly advise acquiring the photo permit and turning up before dawn, especially if you're going for photography. The darkness and stillness of early arrival can heighten the sense of abandonment and creepiness. But once the sun rises, the beauty of Kolmanskop shines through. Since the summer is technically winter in Namibia, it's best to go around June. The dry, hot, and rainy season might be best avoided. Now, here are a few things you need to bring with you. Your entry permit if you purchased a photo permit and reach before 9 a.m. There might be limited parking near the entrance gate. It is optional to move your vehicle after 9 o'clock, but you don't have to. And of course, goes without saying, bring lots of water and carry it around with you. You can get pretty thirsty out there since it is a desert. And don't forget extra charged batteries for your camera. If you intend to spend upwards of an hour at Kolmanskop, your camera batteries will get a workout. And most importantly, bring your common sense. These buildings are all in different states of disarray. Floors, ceilings, stairs, and walls are all vulnerable to collapse at any time. Think before you start crawling around in various nooks and crannies inside and outside buildings. Also, be cautious of where you walk. Rusted nails, barbed wire, and thinly sliced wood are strewn about the property everywhere. We strongly advise wearing trainers or closed-toed shoes. Here are some best finds in the abandoned town. The Buchhalter House, closest to the Walter House, is particularly interesting. Lots of character and a serious rundown second floor. Then there's the architect residence. Pink, blue, and yellow dominating the building. It's wonderful. Now, I don't want to give anything away, like telling you which house has bathtubs, sinks, or furniture, because it's part of the enjoyment is discovering the furnishings as you go. So find out for yourselves. The best corridor is the Kronkenhaus, the longest building near the center. Try to enter when the sun is low in the sky, or else the building can be dark. The red, rusty metal building on the opposite end of the parking lot from the museum is rich in color and texture. And don't forget about the worker houses on the property's backside, which is the south section. Some of the wreckage is rather severe, so proceed with caution. You might see a few rabbits and other creatures in the area, which might make some unexpected noises and shadows. They're not ghosts, I can promise you. The restrooms are next to the museum and the restaurant building. They should be clean and have running water, toilet paper, and soap in case of emergencies. Kolmanskop is a wonderful place to visit if you're into historical abandoned sites, and definite one to cross off your bucket list. Take a moment to imagine what it would be like to be back in a town when it was at its highest point. It really puts things in perspective. Be safe and be careful, and have the time of your life.